Hi, this is Sensei James Leonelli from Sensei's Weekly Mindset, and I'm here to talk to you about betonline.net. Betonline.net is your number one source for sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. Get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there, from football to basketball, soccer, and esports. Don't forget my personal favorite, MMA. We've got it all on betonline.net. And if you love sports podcasts, we can help you find those on BetOnline as well. We're always the fastest and easiest way to get your betting fix. And don't forget BetOnline for NHL, boxing, golf, and like I said, my personal favorite, the sport of MMA. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, where the game starts. Thank you to BetterHelp for sponsoring this episode. Life isn't always easy, and you don't have to face it alone. BetterHelp is the world's largest therapy service, and it's 100% online. With BetterHelp, you have access to a network of over 25,000 licensed and experienced therapists who can help you with a wide range of needs. To get started, you simply answer a few questions about your needs and preferences in therapy. That way, BetterHelp can match you with the right therapist from their network. Then you talk to your therapist however you feel comfortable, whether it's via text, chat, phone, or video call. You can message your therapist at any time and schedule live sessions when it's most convenient for you. The best part is, if your therapist isn't the right fit for any reason, you can switch to a new therapist at no additional charge. With BetterHelp, you get the same professionalism and quality you expect from in-office therapy, but with a therapist who is custom picked for you, more scheduling flexibility, and at a more affordable price, all from the comfort at home. To start your journey and to get 10% off of your first month, go to betterhelp.com/sensei. That's betterhelp.com/sensei. BetterHelp, you deserve to be happy. Hi guys, Sensei James Leonelli here to talk to you about another one of our sponsors, LMNT. An electrolyte drink mix. Each one of these little packets gives you exactly what you need to keep you as hydrated as all us athletes like to be. If you're like me, you work out a lot, and when you work out a lot, you also sweat a lot. Now, when we sweat, we don't lose just water, of course. We also sweat out salt. We sweat out electrolytes. So each one of these packets contains 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams of potassium, and 60 milligrams of magnesium, giving you everything that you need in order to maintain optimal hydration and nothing that you don't. So to go online, place an order for your sample pack, and to get yourself a bonus free sample pack, you're going to go to this website right here, elementallabs.refr.cc/James Leonelli. You're going to see this down in the video below, but I'll say it one more time for you. elementallabs.refr.cc/James Leonelli. Again, it's a tasty electrolyte drink mix with everything you need and nothing that you don't. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Sensei's Weekly Mindset. I'm Sensei James Leonelli, owner and head instructor of Tiger Schulman's here in Smithtown. Once again, I am back in my home recording space, ready to give you guys this week's food for thought. I'm wearing another tank top because it is extraordinarily humid up here in New York this week, so definitely a good tank top weather. You can see this is from the General Collection, available on tiegear.com. You can see we got the Army Green Tie Gear logo. We got the American flag, some other cool stuff. There's a whole bunch of awesome stuff in this collection. The General, it's called, available on tiegear.com. Make sure that wherever you guys are watching, you guys are subscribed so you get your new episodes every Wednesday. If you're on YouTube, make sure you've hit that notification bell so you know when you get those new episodes every Wednesday. Make sure you guys comment, rate, review, all that stuff just makes my life that much more interesting and really takes this podcast reasoning to the next level for sure. Of course, guys, the greatest compliment you can give me, share the podcast. So, as we get rolling today, I always have a decent idea from one week to the next as to what I'm going to talk about, but sometimes life inspires me by hook or by crook. And I had one of those experiences this week where I was inspired by somebody around me in my circle. My main apprentice in my school is a gentleman named Dominic. Dominic was one of my first students years ago when he was a teenager. Went off to college, life pulled him in different directions. He found his way back as more of an adult, and now years later, I don't know what I would do without him. And watching him develop as an instructor and so forth has been a really huge pleasure in my life. And now he's a father too, and that's also just a huge pleasure to watch. And sometimes, like I said, he inspires me. So he was talking to the adult class earlier, and when he was talking to the adult class, he was reminding them about finding their why and remembering their why. And I'm not. It's funny when I heard this phrase the first time. I thought of in math where you plot a graph, your x and your y axis, and I'm like, finding your y, like finding your balance. Not exactly, right? It's the other kind of why, WHY. And this phrase was kind of made popular by Tony Robbins. He really ran on this. He ran with this concept and really made sure that was what his people were talking. He was talking to people all about it in his seminars, finding your why, your why, your why, your why. And what that is, very simply, it's your motivation for doing what you're doing, for why you have the goals that you have. And that's very, very important, right? When it comes to finding your why, the why is what starts every journey, right? And it's a very extraordinarily important part of what I do as well. One of the most important questions that I ask somebody is not why they're there, because that comes out in the conversation that I have with them. When someone does their trial lesson and I sit down and I talk with them, I understand why they're there pretty quickly. But my bigger question is, what was the aha moment? The moment that made you say, okay, now is the time I have to take action. Because when you do what I do, when you're a martial arts instructor, people may have in the back of their mind for a while. Plus, we know in marketing, I believe they call it the rule of 7, where someone has to see you 7 times before they'll make an action. So I could be wrong on those numbers, but rule of 7, I feel like, is what I learned about in college, but that was many years ago. At any rate, the whole concept behind the idea is, there's a reason why people take action. Right. I remember when I was learning about being a staff member and an instructor in a school, I read this really interesting piece, and it was all about understanding prospective students and understanding why they come in and want to train. And, when you are in a world, so to speak, you have certain ideas as to why that world is great, as to why people do what you do. Right? Why people want to be a part of your world, right? Like if you're a person who's like really immersed in the BMW world, for example, oh, I got BMWs, I love BMWs, then you have these reasons why you love BMWs, which is great. And you might think that everybody who drives a BMW or likes BMWs likes them for the same reason that you like BMWs, which is not the case, right? They might like it for similar reasons, but not necessarily going to be the same as yours. That's okay. Right, that's okay, right? But the thing about, if you're that person selling the BMW, you can't believe that everybody who walks into that BMW dealership is there for the same reasons that you like the BMW experience. You have to find out what is unique to them, why they chose to make that action, right? And the thing that the piece that I read described is why people make any purchase. Think about why a person buys a specific car or a watch or a shirt or martial arts or anything else. It's not, and it kind of went with the martial arts example. It said it's not that the person wants to be a black belt. That's not what they want. They envision a version of themselves in their mind that is a black belt. And they envision all these differences between that person, that version of themselves, and who they are today. They envision all those differences. And because they envision all those differences, it's the differences are what they're after. They're going from this person to that person. That's what they're after. That journey is really their why, right? The things that they'd like to change about themselves. And to me, that's the most intriguing part of people's stories. And in terms of being their instructor, understanding that aha moment, that moment that made him say, now is the time that I have to take action. When we understand that, what that moment is, man, it's a lot more powerful. It's a lot more palatable. And it commits people that much more, right? For example, someone who comes to me and they say, oh, yeah, I just kind of want my kid to learn. Okay, great. And I'm sure I can teach that kid and the kid's excited. They'll like it and the kid will get connected and it'll work. I'm not as excited when I hear that as when I hear about the doctor is telling me that the only way I can get my kid to sit still is if I put him on pills for his entire life. And I don't want to put my kid on pills. That's not what I want for him. I want him to learn how to control himself. Right? The doctor appointment was last week, and we said, is there anything else we could do besides pills? And the doctor said, bring him to martial arts. That, I get excited about that because now there's a really powerful why. And then it's a very easy thing for us to wrap the journey around, right? Not only as the instructor, understanding specifically what the goals of that particular student are, but even more importantly, that why, especially for that parent, will become an anchor. And I'll explain that concept as we go a little deeper into this, right? Because kids have their whys, parents have their whys, right? A parent might be like, my kid keeps getting bullied. He gets off the bus every day and he cries because this kid is bothering him and that kid's bothering him. And I tell him to stand up for himself, but he doesn't know how. So I need him to know how to stand up for himself. That's, again, a very powerful why. And, I've had a bunch of other different conversations with people throughout the years, adults, kids, and I remember some really good ones, like adults who said to me, the doctor told me that I'm on the highest level of blood pressure medication that he's willing to give me. And if I don't do something, then, I'm at risk for some kind of coronary event. Or my doctor's telling me that if I don't do something, I'm going to have to raise my blood pressure medication again. Or my doctor says I'm pre-diabetic and I really need to do something about it. Or, I'm just sick of being afraid. I'm afraid all the time. I'm a small person. I go into places, I feel intimidated, and I'm sick of that feeling. I've heard all these things throughout my career, and understanding these moments and really the click moment, the moment that said, okay, now is the moment I take action. So let's go back to that marketing idea, right? Because someone might have it in their head that I really want to do martial arts. I think martial arts would be good for me, right? And they might search it up, but they're probably not going to act. Or they might see an ad, and they're like, I think I'd like to do martial arts, maybe. And they may not act. But they see that ad a few more times, or a couple of different ads a bunch of different times. And that keeps going on and on and on and on. And then slowly but surely, they find that magic number of seeing the advertisements that is paired perfectly with the aha moment, the moment that says now is the time to act. It's when those two X's cross, that's where I get the moment of action. And yes, can we control the amount of advertising? Absolutely. Can I control the aha moments? No. But what I can do is take advantage of them. And what I mean by take advantage of them is those are the moments we have to capitalize as an instructor, right? Because if I get somebody who's super, super excited, really wants in, and, all I want to do is get that person in. I want to get them in. I want to get them in a class, and I want to show them that they're right, that martial arts can do the things that they think that it can. Because the reality is, most of us understand what this journey kind of looks like. Don't get me wrong. The 50-year-old dad who hasn't been active since high school, who's 150 pounds overweight, picturing himself as a UFC champion. Okay, he's a little delusional, maybe. But there's no reason he can't come in and train like a UFC champion, right? But again, that why moment is so powerful. And where that why becomes powerful is not necessarily in the beginning. Because yes, in the beginning, that's the thing that makes the person click onto my website. That's the person that makes them fill out their information. That's the thing that makes them book the trial class. All of those things happen because of that aha moment, that initial why. But where that why is more valuable is not there. Sure, we need it to get started, but we know every journey is not a straight line. It's not just perpetual upward motion. We are very well aware of that. We know that when it comes to real journeys, there's ups and downs. There's real ups and downs. And people don't give up on the ups. They give up on the downs. So if we understand that, then we know that why is going to come in handy at the bottom valleys. That is where that why will be so important. That is where that why is going to be the anchor, right? Let me go back to my example of the parent with the kid, right? So that parent is like, they want to put my kid on pills because they say he can't sit still and he's never going to be able to do well in school if I don't put him on these pills. We know that kid will, in their trial class, he will show the parents some shining moments. Then they'll go into the group class and there'll be some more shining moments. But as kids grow in comfort, they push a little to see what they can get away with. They try to push the limits. And as they push the limits, right, what is the parent thinking? Oh, this isn't working. Oh, this isn't working. Or, oh, why is he doing that? Why is he doing that? Why is he doing that? In those moments, it's so important for us and for the parent to go back to the why. Because when the kid is pushing back a little bit, let's just say they're pushing back in class, for example, then I'll go to the other side. If they're pushing back in class, they're testing the limits. They're trying to understand this new social construct that they're a part of and what's acceptable there and what's not. And, maybe they might get away with something in school or in gym class or whatever that they're not going to get away with in martial arts. And they want to see, how does this equate? So they have to push a little bit. But more importantly, how do you learn how to do anything without stumbling? I have yet to do it, right? There are many times when I listen back to like a Flex Fight broadcast and I'm like, what am I even talking about there? That's ridiculous. I didn't do a good job on that at all, right? Or I'll think back on a class that I'm talking like, you totally messed this up, or whatever the case may be. That was a bad pairing. You shouldn't have paired those two kids together. Sometimes I'll listen to an episode of the podcast. I'm like, well, you rambled on that for an indiscriminate amount of time for no real reason. But nonetheless, it's the combination of those stumbles that lead to real growth. And we know that. But it's those stumbles that are also discouraging. If you're stumbling, usually we know it means you're moving in the right direction, right? Just like how in the action movie, the music changes as the hero moves towards the final villain. Right? Similarly, we know that stumbles usually mean you're headed in the right direction. But more importantly, it's in those moments that we need to kind of pick ourselves up and kind of redouble our effort. And more importantly, we have to refocus on why we're headed where we're headed. Because stumbles leave you on the floor, literally or figuratively. What picks you back up, right? Self-discipline. And where does that self-discipline come from, right? Sometimes it comes from years and years and years of practice. But sometimes we don't have that yet. But what we do still have is that why. And that's where that why can be the anchor. And it can pull us out of the stuck, right? Wherever we're stuck, it can pull us out, right? It can be the thing that keeps us true and on course. It's going back to that why, right? Like, I've had many parents in my career come to me and like, they're all right when they're here, but my kids just give me such a hard time about coming. And I have to remind them a couple of things. Number one, no human being, kid or adult, likes to stop doing what they're doing to go do something else. That's just human nature. We are just built that way. Good, bad, and different. Doesn't matter what the activity is. You can go from one fun activity to the other. Doesn't matter how fun either one is. It's the fact that you are doing one, you don't want to stop doing it to do the other. So we as adults sometimes forget that part of human nature. But the other part of it is, again, they're a kid. They're going to push the limits. They're going to see what they can get away with, right? I can't tell you how many times as a kid I hummed and hawed on something, or sighed about something that the reality was I was putting that out in the universe. I was putting that out loud, but that really wasn't what I was feeling. Like, I remember getting ready to go to a black belt test that I was participating in. And my parents woke me up and I was like, And they were like, it's your black belt test. We don't have to freaking go. I was like, no, I'm fine. I'm just, right. I put it out there in utero, but I wasn't really feeling that. I was just didn't want to stop sleeping to get up and go to the black belt test. I wanted to go to take the black belt test, obviously. But we as parents sometimes forget that like kids do that. That's a normal thing that kids do. And when kids do that, it's easy for us to kind of look at that moment and lose sight of the why, lose sight of why it's necessary to push them back on track, right? That's one of the first things I'll talk about with a parent whose kid's giving them a hard time. Like, well, yeah, of course, right? Especially if it's a kid, and I've had this in my career as well, where the kid behaviorally didn't come to us, good at behaving well. Instead, it was the opposite. They were very out of control. Now that kid, they're like, oh, he doesn't like it that much. So wait a second, your kid that doesn't like structure, doesn't like the thing where he's learning structure, color me surprised. Right? That would be like if you said, my kid who doesn't know how to swim, he don't really like swimming lessons. He doesn't know how to swim. He doesn't know what he's doing. Of course, that's why he's there, to learn to do this, right? But in those moments, I'll have to point out to the parents, A, remember why you're here. You are here to work on this, right? Whatever that why is they gave me in the beginning, you are here to work on this, number one. Number two, is he working on it? Yeah. Number three, he's going to push back. Of course he's going to. That's his job. It's his job to push back. It's us as the adults. It's our job to keep him on track because he doesn't have the life experience yet to do it himself, right? Now you're an adult. Yeah, you kind of got to bear down and do it on your own a little bit. You got to think back to your why in those downward moments when you fell off track, when you're not feeling it 100%. That's when you have to go back and look at your why. When you remember why you're doing what you're doing, or that aha moment that made you say, now is the time to act. Once you're there, man, it is so much easier to pick yourself back out of the dumps. Just like it's that much easier for a parent to get their kid back on the mat or get their kid to class on those lazy days that every kid has, if they can stop and think about that why and think about like, yeah, this is the place for them. This is the thing that's making them better at that. So all of us have goals that we're working on. All of us have journeys that we are trying to go on. So for this week, what I want you guys to really think about is in all the different things that you participate in, right? Maybe you train in martial arts and not every day is going to be like a, yay, I can't wait to go kind of day, right? That doesn't happen. We're human. We just don't feel that way every single time. So what I want you to do is consider your why. Think about your why. When you're tired, you're thinking about taking a break during the class, remember your why. When you're thinking about like something you don't really have to schedule during class time, but you could, remember your why. When you're looking to find that motivation to get up off the couch and go do what you got to do, remember your why. For each thing that you do in your life, remember your why. If it's something that you do voluntarily, like a hobby, like martial arts, remember your why. If it's your job, right, and you have to motivate yourself to get up to get there, like many people do, most people, all people do, remember your why. Remember why you picked this job. Remember why you love this job. Remember why you chose this over other jobs. Right? When you're working on your own goals, your fitness goals or whatever, you fall off path, there's temptation along the way. Remember your why. When all else fails, when things are not going according to plan, just go back to remembering your why. So my friends, that is all I have for you guys this week. As always, you can reach me via email senseileonelli@gmail.com. Find me on Twitter and Instagram at sensei_Leonelli. You can find me on Facebook. I'm Sensei James Leonelli. You can find my school online, tsksmithtown.com. Find us on Facebook. We're at facebook.com/Tiger Schulman Smithtown. Twitter and Instagram, we are at TSMA_Smithtown. Find out more about the Tiger Schulman's organization as a whole at tsk.com. You can find everywhere I'm on the internet at my linktree, linktr.ee/Sensei Leonelli. You can find everything about Tiger Schulman's, everything about our sponsors. Sponsorship opportunities still available as well, by the way. Find everything Flex Fights there as well. By the way, Flex Fights coming back next Saturday, the 19th, live from HK Hall in Hell's Kitchen. We're going to have a packed show. There's a whole bunch of fights going down. You guys should be there. If you can't be there, make sure you're watching on either Soleil Streaming or on Fubo. Other than that, guys, make sure you guys leave a rate and review. Just helps. Subscribe. Get those new episodes every Wednesday. Don't miss a one. Other than that, my friends, make sure you're leaving comments and stuff like that. I'd love to hear what your why is, right? If you guys are listening to this and you're pursuing a goal, tell me what your why is. Tell me why you're after that goal. And then, guys, most important compliment you can give me, as always, share the podcast. There is no greater compliment you can give me. It's the best form of advertising and the only form of advertising that I have. So, until next time, my friends, invest in yourselves. I'll see you guys on the mat.